Good morning, everyone. I can. Is the sound coming in loud and clear? Fantastic. Are you all on? Can you all hear me? Fantastic. Okay. Good morning, Deborah and Pierre as well. I can only see you as darkened screen. That's fine. Okay, let me just wait a couple of seconds to make sure that everybody else is able to come on. As to this morning, I know that Duncan is pretty busy with the partners conference, so he said he will be on. He will be on, but I won't be able to help much. So excuse me, but I need to set myself up so I can. I can do both the crypto hour and at the same time let people in and out. Okay. Okay. Somebody else. Good morning. Good morning, Anna. Okay. Are we all on? I think we'll get started in a second. Any burning questions to begin with before I start going into my my spiel? No, you're all okay. You're all pros now. You're all season pros. So you're perfectly okay. Okay, let me then start going into the kind of the weekly items. In the meantime, I'll go on for possibly for about 20 minutes or so. In the meantime, if you can prepare your questions for afterwards, so at least we can move into your questions straight away. Okay, let me share my screen. Let me just somebody else. Okay. Okay, I've selected a few bits of let me just move things around so I can see my screen. Okay. Let's start then. By the way, I tend to tweet a few articles every day, every couple of days on my Twitter account. So if you want to be notified as well when these articles are tweeted, then follow me on Twitter. This is can you see my screen? That's my Twitter. My Twitter handle @LucaChain. And you can then have a look and see if you're interested in any of these articles, if you want to read them or not. But first of all, I know that these things sometimes are, we keep talking about this kind of like mass adoption and ways of getting investing in cryptocurrency. Now, the first bit of news that I wanted to kind of discuss with you today, and that's kind of the first example of an American bank that became the first nationally chartered US bank that allows you to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrency assets directly with your bank account. We talked about several times about the difference in attitude in different countries. Some countries that are kind of victimizing crypto account holders and trying to stop them moving money from traditional assets to cryptocurrencies and digital assets, and other countries like the US where they're going towards, like, if you can beat them, join them, and so we see several examples like this one where now they're making it easier for you to buy and hold cryptocurrency, because this is, again, as we talked about it before, and in both here and in the classes that we do privately. as sometimes it is still a little bit technical, and that's what stops a lot of people from getting involved, especially as the complexity sometimes of holding and keeping your assets safe. And when you have like a trusted kind of a bank that we always knew, we've known for a while, that makes it easy for some people, then it can take one of these barriers to entry away. And I always discuss, why is this significant? It's just simply because as it is becoming easier to buy and sell cryptocurrencies, that means that more funds will make their way onto this asset class. And obviously, as there is more demand, then and the supply is the same, then that means kind of the prices tend to increase. And the opposite is true when money leaves an asset class and goes somewhere else, like in the case of the kind of the bear market, when crypto goes into the crypto winter, as sometimes it can be described. Somebody else, Julie, is coming in as well. Now, let's start from the left. Another very, I think, quite significant article that I was discussing is this one. Like, cryptocurrency is now recognized under commercial law in Texas. And there are now several states in the US where this is being recognized, and basically they are recognizing just the existence of these assets, from a legal point of view as well. Because now we're starting to having these hybrid systems where people are using their cryptocurrencies as collateral for either for loans or for business deals, and this establishes a framework for sometimes following up in the courts when you have some dispute, for example. So it gives the courts a framework as well to operate in relation to cryptocurrencies. So again, you see how this is now. You still get in the US, you still got some very influential people telling that cryptocurrencies are all a scam and everything's going to disappear. But that way, if you see the work that is going on in the background, especially in the more progressive states, is to integrate cryptocurrency in our daily life. And obviously this is something that needs to be recognized from a legal standpoint as well. And this is what why I've selected this particular article to talk about. And next, I wanted to mention something that's not really relates to cryptocurrencies now, but to a few years ago. Okay, so some of you may have heard of EOS, which was one of the biggest projects, one of the fanciest initial coin offerings. That's what ICO stands for, in 2017 and 2018. And EOS was one of those projects that came out with what we say, all guns blazing, saying we're going to be the next big thing after sliced bread, basically. And this is there's been some research in the way that this ICO was launched, and that research has found that the price of when there is an ICO, obviously they come to market with a certain price, and then this coin starts trading, and then it goes up and down because of trading. And what a wash trades is when the seller and the buyer are the same entity. Okay, so if you think about somebody that launches a coin and wants there to be hype around that coin, then they will make basically fake trades. So the buy and sell, they are the buyer and the seller at the same time. So they want to see that they want the market to see that there is volume, and also they put inflated price. So they say, I'm buying from you. So they got money into these different accounts, and they say, I'm buying from this account, and that account is selling at that price. So they matching the buyer and the seller. And as a result, the market sees that there is a transaction being done at this very high price. So the price will move to that level. And then they put another trade at even higher price, and so on. There is kind of much hype at the beginning because everybody from the outside says, oh gosh, this coin had just launched. and the price is going up, so I need to buy some of that, etc., etc. Okay, why am I concentrating on that? I mean, this is something that happened a few years ago. Okay, so we're talking about 2017, 2018, so three to 4 years ago. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because this is still happening now. And this is one of the reasons why I tend to stay away from ICOs, initial coin offerings, because for two reasons. One is this, that can and does happen regularly. And two is that when a new project is being worked on and is being developed by, by the founders, by the developers, like people who do marketing on it, they generally are rewarded in coins for that project. So if you see, when you look on what is called the tokenomics, so the token economics around a particular project, you see that there is, so much of the amount of coins that are for general trade, so much is reserved to the founders, so much is reserved to the, for the marketing and so on, so much for staking. And so you see often the developers, the first chance that they have of realizing some of those gains are when a coin is publicly available to be traded. Okay, so what you tend to see is that a project comes to market, at X price, let's say at $1 per token, and within a day or two, you will see it going up and down very quickly. Maybe it will go to $1.50, $2, and then going down all the way, maybe to 20 or 30 cents, depending on the project, obviously. But the vast majority of these ICOs are available to purchase on the open market at a lower price than they were offered to early investors. Okay, so even when the projects are good, it is a big risk often to participate on a pre-market valuation, especially because often the valuation criteria are not released to the public. Sorry, is somebody, Dimitri, I'll mute you, okay? Because I'm getting some background noise. Sometimes the valuation criteria are not transparent. So it's very difficult to value a project before launch when you're not allowed to look at the full valuation criteria for a particular company. And often, obviously, the valuation comes from generally the funders. The funders and the people that are backing certain projects, or the very early backers, which often look at project with rosy eyes. So the market gives once they come to market, they really hard reality hits, and this is what the market is willing to pay for certain coins. Okay, moving on to a couple of trends in the market, and as an investor, obviously, and this doesn't just apply to crypto, but the same thing in stocks. You might, if you're a stock investor, you might have heard about sector rotation, which is one of the techniques that you use when investing on the stock market. It's not that different in crypto, because there are several sectors, different sectors of interest in cryptocurrencies, and at the moment, like two very really growing, two sectors that are growing very fast. First of all, NFT. So, and this is, I've selected one of these articles that says the OpenSea, which is one of the platforms where you can, it's a big NFT marketplace, and where you can mint as well your NFTs. So create these NFTs, and this is now they surpassed 1 billion weekly transactions in a week, and this is kind of more. This is 1 week in August, in August, which is more than the whole month of July. So you can see like the speed of growth of the old sector, which hardly existed 12 months ago, and it's now one of the fast-growing realities of the cryptocurrency market. And where we are going to see the biggest growth it's where some of these innovation are meeting, real life use. And you see a lot of the NFTs, apart from, we might know them as art pieces of art, but our children might know them as items in games, video games. So, if you have young children or early teenage years, probably, you might have had, mom or dad, can I have some money to buy this sword on this particular game, or that weapon in this game, which is represented by an NFT. And we got one of the sectors that I pointed out that is growing very rapidly, that is using NFTs as well, is gaming. And in particular, pay-to-earn games. One really prominent example has been Axie Infinity, which is a game platform that has become the second largest fee revenue generator after Ethereum. So it is absolutely, it's been absolutely massive. And now, after seeing the growth, and there are people that are actually making a life now, playing this game, and generating income out of, this, with this play to earn model. Now, this is then brought interest into the old sector, all the gaming, blockchain gaming sector, which is one of the fastest growing as well. And if you consider that, what I've been discussing before already, that a lot of the growth, a lot of the new users into the blockchain world will come from NFTs that represent kind of like an experience layer through which people will then get into blockchain. You understand why some of these sectors are growing so rapidly, because at the end of the day, at the moment, what we've been talking about, up to really the beginning of the year in crypto are being infrastructure projects, although are very important, they're not very exciting. The difference is in 2021, instead, the real growth sectors have been real world use. So we're talking about gaming, we're talking about NFTs, we're talking about decentralized finance. So these are real people that are interacting with the blockchain now. It's not just geeks and programmers and developers that are doing this, but literally it's been the whole growth of the sector is being really pushed by real life adoption. Okay, and these are two very prominent cases that we can that we can refer to. Another couple of articles that also I wanted to refer, and we already come to about 20 minutes, so I'll talk for another 5 minutes, and then we open the room up to questions. Another couple of articles that show you the adoption of cryptocurrencies and how they are more accepted by everybody and understood, and they're coming into our everyday use, is this initiative by Twitter that is planning. I mean, they're just rumors at the moment. It's planning to allow users to add Bitcoin and Ethereum addresses to their profiles. And that is mainly for tipping content creators. So you can send them tips in, Ethereum or Bitcoin. But it is still at the very early stages. But we have seen examples. Like we have talked about in the past month or so about TikTok, for example. They're now integrated with a blockchain project called Audius to allow them to have music. This Audius is a music streaming music service, and it now integrates with TikTok to get the users of TikTok able to use the music on Audius for their videos. And this is kind of a real-time use. Again, there's a lot of interest in for a crypto project, and there's Twitter talking about this. Also, we've heard before or about Instagram. Is talking about integrating NFTs into their platform. And the moment they say this, because there are millions of people that use these platforms, what the reason why I'm pointing it out is that they make crypto more real and less geeky and less, something that I'm worried about, that I'm scared of, and I can't get into that because I don't know, I've heard in the news that criminals use it and all this stuff. Once you see it on your phone, once you see that it's real, then it changes the whole narrative around it and the way that people talk about it. So it's not just something that we are maybe investing to make money or something like this, but it is something that we can use every day. Whether we use it as an investment or not is something everybody will have a little bit of on their phone because they use it for things that they want to do. The same way that you need to have fiat currency at the moment. If you go into your coffee shop and want a coffee, you have to pay with something, either with cash or with money from the bank account. At the same time, you might want to do things on social media, and that you need to do through having some cryptocurrencies, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's the Facebook cryptocurrency that will be one day be created, or whatever it is. You will need to have some of this to interact with things that you want to do. As simple as that, without making it too complicated. And this will bring, again, attention, will make it more of a accepted standard, and would make it easy, acceptable to the mass market user that is not that technologically advanced, but they know how to use their phone, they know how to use apps, and they just basically won't make any difference. It's just a different way of them to using the apps on their phone, really. It just really won't make any difference whether it's an app developed by a Google developer, or if it's been developed in the blockchain. So the last article that I wanted to share with you is talking about universities. And now this is another real fast trend. In 2021, we had really the emergence of decentralized finance, kind of like maturing from a few tens of millions of value locked into these protocols to now at about 130 billion. Okay, so it is something now that is starting to be noticed, and in particular, universities like Barclays is developing a course for computer science and economic students to teach them decentralized finance. So you see, again, obviously these are institutions that want to be at the forefront of education, so they need to teach the new tools that are available for people, because a lot of funds, a lot of users are moving away from the traditional financial sector, away from the banking system, through these new protocols that are available, like decentralized finance. So again, I always look at, I don't just look at the things that are written in the article in general, and you can read them yourself, but I'm trying always to look behind it. So this is interesting, not so much because Barclays is teaching decentralized finance, but it is interesting because it is showing that what was a very niche, very technical thing is slowly becoming mainstream. And so we are seeing the first education institution, education curriculum, as you know from being involved with Roger and a Genius U, moves very, very slowly. Okay, so now that we are getting this, it's starting to show in the curriculum, in the things that are being taught, is very significant for me in terms of these are things that are here to stay, and they're not just a passing fad. Okay, so these are just a few of the things that I wanted to share with you. And generally, doing this crypto hour, we are really talking about the whole blockchain industry in general. We're talking about trend. We're talking about things that are happening, and also we're talking about how people are interacting with it and things that are affecting our daily life. And these are the kind of articles that I tend to concentrate on. I talked about the ICOs because I wanted you to be careful, of getting involved in on the early stages of projects, especially if you don't have the tools to evaluate them properly. But the rest of the things are just general trend articles. But you can get a lot if you able to filter these articles and understand the underlying currents that then give rise to these articles. So let's say, let me stop sharing my screen. I think I've done enough talking for this morning. And good morning, Carol. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Hopefully, Carol, hopefully you can hear us as well. So let's start taking some questions. Okay, anybody want to start? Please, you can unmute yourself and ask the question, or if you prefer, you can put it in the chat box. Okay, anybody there? Come on, don't be shy. I don't bite. So Dimitri is saying that he's building his first NFT collection right now. So well done, Dimitri. Are you actually building the NFTs, minting the NFTs yourself, or are you buying them from other creators?
May I ask just, can you explain this phenomenon that 17% of Australians already have those cryptos? If we are in the early stage and they all are already in, it's quite an incredible number, 17%.
Yeah, but if you talk about the general numbers, how many people live in Australia?
Something 20 million or...
Yeah, so we are talking about a small number. So we're talking about 3.5 million people. I mean, compared to, world population is about, I don't know exactly what it is, about 8-9 billion. It's a very, very small percentage. And generally, I mean, certain countries have embraced crypto more than others. But we're still looking at a very small percentage of the small population that's involved in crypto, and especially when you consider that obviously to be able to have cryptocurrency, first of all you have to have connectivity, internet connectivity, and pretty much half the world population still doesn't have access to that. It shows you that crypto is a small percentage of the people that can't have internet connection to begin with, and then it's even smaller because many people don't even have internet connection. So it doesn't mean that the two things cancel each other out, Anna. Okay. And there was some interesting articles about recently, with everything that happened in Afghanistan. There were a lot of articles talking about Afghanistan. There was one of the countries that more into crypto than anybody else because of we can choose to be in and out of crypto if we want to, and it's a choice for us. But for a country like Afghanistan, where people are fleeing, how do you take your value with you? How do you and this is a real problem. So now that with crypto, generally people can take everything they own really on their phone and take it with them, or send it at the touch of a button, send it out to maybe some of their family that's away in a safe country, and there's no way for the authorities to stop them. So that's the real value of crypto, what it enables you to do. And as I've been talking about before in this room, saying like the growth of the the blockchain and the cryptocurrency world is probably not going to come from Australia, from the USA, from Europe, but it's going to come from these countries that have no other choice. If you live in Venezuela, you tell me, would you rather hold Bitcoin, or would you rather hold the national currency? It's kind of a no-brainer when your national currency is devaluing at I don't know what it is, but a rate of percentage points every day. You want to have something that keeps its value over a length of time. And the same thing as we told, one of the bits of news that I haven't even mentioned today is about El Salvador now that is rolling out they use a Bitcoin as a legal tender. It's now been approved by the last approval has gone through Parliament, and they've rolled out about 200 ATM crypto machines across El Salvador. But think about a country like that, where about a third of their GDP comes from remittances from people that work abroad, mainly in the US. Okay, so these are people that generally, traditionally have sent money home through Western Union or a network like that. Okay, and for small payments, and we're not talking about huge amounts here. There's people that send $50, $100 a week home. Okay, and using a network like Western Union, they end up paying up to 30%, of what they're sending in fees. So just think about it as a national GDP. If all that traffic, instead of going through Western Union, let's say, or any other payment provider like this, can be transferred with minimal fees through the Bitcoin Lightning Network, for example, then you got all that extra GDP being created, because what's 30% to 30%, it means like 9% of the GDP that goes through payment providers. So think about the value for the whole country of releasing that amount of productivity into the country, and also what it will enable people to do, where in a country where 70% of the population don't have a bank account, now, or then being able to have the capability of having connectivity through the mobile phone. So now they can, they're not also can be part of the financial system, because they got a route into it, but they got these entry and exit points made easy through ATM machines. So people can deposit cash and put it on onto their Bitcoin account on the phone, or they can go to an ATM and take and exchange some of their Bitcoin for for US dollars and take out US dollars. So that is massive as a use case, and what it allows people to do. So it's really it's really a big enabling innovation from that point of view. Okay, any other questions? Stan, go ahead, please.
Look, I'm not skilled enough to read the charts and being involved in it for too long, but I heard just in a little bit of my reading that September is normally a down month, even though we're on a bit of an uptrend after May, and everybody's quite bullish, by the end of the year that, Bitcoin might get to 80,000, but they're all talking about September as sort of being a bit of a dip. You sort of seeing that or hearing that, and is there an opportunity?
Okay, generally speaking, I have been in kind of like a holding mode recently, because I've spoken on this again, I think before. I'll share my screen and I will show you. Let me just go on to bring a chart onto the screen. Okay, looking at we'll be looking at Binance chart in a second when the chart loads. Okay, you can see here that I've had this drawn since May. Okay, and so we're seeing what we can see from the chart is that we have established a floor around the between 30 to 29,000 at that level. They had several touch points to that, and at the same time we can see this area here between 48 and then 51.5, where it's a very strong resistance area. And I've told you before that we will have to watch, very carefully. Excuse me, let me just have a sip. We would have to watch very carefully how how price reacts when we enter that zone. And now, eventually, from when we came out of that in when was that 16th of May? So it's taken over 3 months before we reached that area again. Now, what I was really waiting for me to kind of like confirm the bullish momentum of Bitcoin, and in general, when that happens for Bitcoin, then is also the rest of the market follows, on a higher beta. So that means a higher multiplier. I'm waiting to see Bitcoin going over this level, so be comfortably above, let's say, about the 52,000 level. And that would be a confirmation. So really, what I'm waiting for is for the price to break through this, retest this area as support, and then carry on going up. Okay, so this is what I would like to see. Until that happens, we're still on a wait mode where both scenarios are still in play. So we could carry on and move up, or we could retest some of these lows here at the early, mid 40s, mid 30s, or even at 30,000. So this is still in play. The reason why I don't think is very likely, and at the moment I will say maybe I'm 75% more positive than the market will go up than they will go down. But we're still talking about, we're still talking about probabilities here. So you have to have that in mind. And there is no hard fact about trying to guess what the price is going to do tomorrow. But if we look at, and you can look at the chart, and if you know how to analyze a chart, you can analyze it yourself. Okay, I'm not going too deep into that because it's really beyond the point. But if you can see what the chart is trying to tell you, and at the same time you can see what the on-chain data is trying to tell you, and the on-chain data is telling us that Bitcoin, there've never been such a low number of Bitcoins on exchanges. And when Bitcoin leaves exchanges, because if you want to sell Bitcoin, it needs to be on an exchange first. Okay, so if there are no Bitcoins on exchanges, but they're away, either in cold storage or they put in decentralized finance project or something like that, it means that people are not intending to sell it. Okay, so we have that combined with a large number of new users and a historically low number of Bitcoin in circulation on exchanges. It's kind of like they're all like very bullish signals, separate little bullish signal that if we put together, we can kind of like understand and build a narrative for it. So this is kind of in terms of probabilities are more bullish than bearish, but I would say both scenarios are still in play. It's not something that you could rely on really to say, well, I'll wait for Bitcoin to go back to 40,000 before buying it again, because it might never go that low again. Because when eventually decides to move, these kind of moves tend to be explosive. So we might find a situation that we may be in this area again for another a matter of weeks, and then when it breaks through, it just goes straight up with no opportunity to buy. No slowing down and dips in between. The other thing and the other reasons why I am fairly bullish, and I'll stop sharing now so at least I can see you. The other reason is because of what's going on in the market in general. So as you know, in September, Cardano is releasing smart contracts, and that's a very big deal. And also Polkadot is another one of the elephants in the room, the big projects that are starting delivering. As some of you know, I know that some of you have have some Kusama in their portfolio. Kusama is really a testnet for Polkadot, and they're going through their parachains right now. So if everything plays out as it should be on Kusama, then Polkadot is going to be next to do the parachains, and again, that's a very big deal. So there are two very big projects that are coming to market now in the third quarter, whether it's in September or October or whatever. There's a lot going on in the next quarter, and that is generally positive for the market. We've seen an unprecedented level of institutional interest in Cardano, for example. Ready for the smart contract release, and there's also quite a bit of institutional funds moving into Polkadot. So these are all little signals that they all. I mean, the thing is that they're lining up. You get all your ducks in a row, really, and if you start lining up all the little signals and they all point in one direction, then you should really start taking notice. But also, the other thing that I'm trying to, and it's not investment advice here in general, but just talking about it in general, okay? Looking at the data that's available on-chain, in particular for Bitcoin, because in Bitcoin we can see the age of the coins that are being bought and sold. It's sad to say that with Bitcoin doubling in price in 2021, the average of the coins that were bought at the start of the year, almost all of them have been sold at an average loss of 22%. So this is the danger of dealing in a volatile market. Even with the price doubling, most people have lost money, and these coins have made their way into the pockets of what I call almost like the one-way wallets. So these are wallets that just buy; they never, hardly ever sell. Okay, and it is significant. So really, it's the only way to not being manipulated from this market is trying to do the kind of approach that I'm trying championing in a way is it's kind of like investing in this as if it is a technology investment, not so much as a stock market investment, trying to spend your days looking at charts and trying to understand where the price goes, by thinking about, okay, what I'm investing in now is going to be like 50 times as big in 10 years time. So I'm investing in the kind of the Facebook, the Amazon of tomorrow, the Google of tomorrow. They are now coming to the market for the first time, and these are already, when you look at Cardano, Polkadot, and something like that, these are projects that have been in the pipeline for a long time. Cardano was started working in 2015, so it's 6 years. It's been 6 years in the making, and all their life they've been in the top 10. So now they are saying, well, everything that we worked on, there is a vast improvement on the system that you find on Ethereum, for example. Now really it will be available to everybody to use. Then what will happen in the future, we will see. We'll see in a few weeks. But it is a big deal, and then that's why you may have noticed that the price went from just over $1 a couple of months ago to over $3 recently, yesterday. And by the way, when you think about the 12th is the release date for these smart contracts, probably this innovation is already priced in. So it doesn't mean that on the 12th all of a sudden Cardano is starting, will jump and go from $3 to $5 or $6. I mean, it might happen, but I don't expect it to. I expected that the price, is being priced in at the moment. But the big difference is that, like on Ethereum, if you want to use any of the apps on Ethereum, you need to spend some ETH as gas prices, to make any transactions. The same thing is going to be the moment that we have apps on Cardano and people start using these apps to do the things that you do on Ethereum. So you can use them as an exchange, for example, to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. Or you can use them as decentralized finance, et cetera, et cetera. The moment that you start using these apps, you have to spend some ADA. So generally, the demand for Cardano will grow because people are using it, because of their utility. And this is the thing. So that's the trend that we are going to see as more and more project release on Cardano. then obviously the more Cardano is going to be spent and transacted on the blockchain. Yeah. So let's go on to another question. Anybody wanted to unmute themselves and ask the question, or shall I look? Have a look.
Luca, just could you just explain a little more about parachains, please?
Yes. What Polkadot is being built to do is to provide interoperability between different blockchains. Okay, so if you think about now, if you want to release an app, like even for your phone, you got to decide as a business: do I want to build an app for Apple phones, for the iPhones, or do I want to build an app for Google phones, to Android? Sorry, Android, for the Android system. So if you want to build an app that works on both, then you're going to have one team of developers that work on the iPhone app, and one team of developers that works on the Android app. Okay, this is just an example for the phone. The same thing in blockchain. When you think about all these blockchains, Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, all these, they all do different blockchain. They all have their programming language. Okay, so if you want to, generally as an app developer, you don't really care about how to get there, but what you want to do is that connect to your customers. Okay, so really, ideally, if you have an app, you want to be both on the Apple, on the iPhone, and both on the Android phones. Okay, and the same thing for app they are on the blockchain. They want to be wherever users are. So if they can be on Ethereum because the users are on Ethereum, that's great. But if some users are on Ethereum, some users are on Cardano, some users are on Solana, they want to be able to connect to all of them, but without the expense of having a team of developers that works on every different blockchain. And this is what there are projects that are moving in that direction, but like and Polkadot is one of them. Another one is Cosmos, for example. It's moving towards this idea of having an internet of blockchains. Now, what Polkadot is doing, they have a main blockchain, which is Polkadot, and then they're going to have many parallel blockchains that do things on a parallel level, and then they relay on the let's say on the Polkadot blockchain. Now, the number of those blockchains is limited. There's a certain number of places only, and they releases those places by doing auctions. So they're called parachains. Okay, so they are chains to give licenses to use these parallel chains on the Polkadot system. Okay, and so they started testing this system on Kusama, and there are several auctions are already taking place on Kusama, but they haven't started on Polkadot yet. Okay, so we'll wait to see. We'll wait to see when that happens. Then it's going to be quite big, and we're going to start seeing the first few auctions being won by the bigger projects like the decentralized exchanges, like decentralized finance, oracles and things like this, things that you already can find on Ethereum, then we'll release on Polkadot. So that's another big deal. A question from Pierre. Look, are you positive about the future of Solana? Yes, I am perfectly. Solana is an excellent project. Now, as an investment, I am kind of like a little bit nervous at these price levels. If I've got to be honest with you, but Solana is a very good project. I mean, I think you got to make a distinction. And when you think about, if you think about stocks, for example, if you were to analyze a company, you see how well a company is doing right now, and that's kind of like you look at what they've done in the past, and then you look at what the future prospects are. And also to do that, you have to see, okay, what is their competitive advantage? What is their unique selling point? And what's their competition? So Solana, they got something now that is very sought after, because they have, again, a fast transaction, low cost, an easy to connect ecosystem. So that is very sought after. And it's the same kind of similar narrative to what we're seeing with the Binance Smart Chain. Okay, they are basically growing on the strength of the weakness of the Ethereum network. Okay, because the Ethereum network is slow and it's expensive, and it has been kind of like a bottleneck for a lot of projects. So that is very good, and what they do now is very good. Now, where are they going to be in 6 months' time when their competition is going to be a lot stronger? And this is the kind of like question that I'm not 100% on. Solana is a very good project and will do very well, but they are going to have a lot more competition than they have now. So what is that going to do to the price? I don't know. We might see Solana carry on growing as it is, and 10% a day, 100% a week. It might carry on like that. But personally, above $100, I'm a bit uncomfortable to buy now. But if you had Solana because you bought it earlier on at 30, 40, if you were lucky enough to buy at the beginning of the year less than $1, then well done to you. It's unfortunate, is a trend that I missed, Solana. But the thing, when you're investing in cryptocurrency, there are so many projects that you can't get them all. Sometimes you have to man enough and saying, okay, yes, I missed that one. Perfect. You don't have to be invested into everything that's out there. But Solana is yes, a very good project that has, obviously, as you know, the reason probably why you asked, because you have seen it growing by ridiculous amounts recently. Whether it's something that's good to buy at the moment. I tend to avoid coins that have grown really fast recently, because generally then they have an assessment period, a settling down period. But that's me. But you can make your own analysis of Solana. Okay, any other questions? We still got about 10 minutes to go, and I'm going to have to leave dead on 9 o'clock, as we have the the partner conference going on starting at 9. So take advantage of of the time that we have in the moment. Dimitri is asking, when you move your Bitcoin or Ethereum from an exchange to a cold wallet, are fees charged? Everything that you do on a blockchain is charged, so you got fees. Okay, and the other way around, yes, the fees when you move it there, the fees when you move back. So this is part of your part of the consideration that you have to make when using a wallet, unfortunately, and this is why exchanges do so well, because they make life easy for you. Now, if you have to, especially if you use a Ethereum-based wallet, Ethereum fees at the moment are ridiculously high. So if you are moving a small amount of coins, it may not make any sense to move it onto your cold wallet, because let's say if you move $100 and it costs you $40 to move it, then it doesn't really make sense. But if you're moving $10,000 and you have to pay $40 for the transaction, then it doesn't matter that much. So it's a judgment that you have to make between security and convenience, and this is the thing about exchanges and cold or hot storage wallets. There are two advantages generally of using exchanges, which is they make things easy, and they make the process of staking very, very easy, because all the projects that you stake on exchanges, you could stake yourself on chain, but it pretty much, if you got more than a few coins, it becomes almost like a full-time job to manage those staking positions because you have to. Every single one of them will have their own wallet, and they have a different procedure for staking, and then you have to go in and and claim your rewards at regular intervals. And so it does then become quite a job to set all of that up if you're doing it from directly on the exchange. And with some of them, there are also barriers in the sense that you have to have a certain number of coins to do it, a minimum number of coins. So it can become quite difficult. But at the same time, you're not in control of your keys. So the security aspect is not as good on an exchange, but the convenience obviously is undeniable. So they're all a decision that we got to take based on our circumstances, really.
Luca, I just wanted to transfer from Binance to my ledger, and it was like $13 or the equivalent of $13 in Ether. Or I had the choice to use Bitcoin. Sorry, not Bitcoin, Binance Coin, which is like 30 cents. So
but you can't use Binance for the Ethereum tokens. So if you're using so you have to use the appropriate network depending on what you're transferring. So if you're transferring BNB, then you obviously use the Binance Smart Chain, and that's very cheap. And that's the reason why the BNB has done so well, is because it's fast and it's cheap, but it's centralized, okay, as opposed to Ethereum is decentralized. If you are transferring, for example, an Ethereum token, like let's say Compound, then it has to be on the Ethereum network, and that's when they pay higher fees. But it is a good idea if you do that to keep an eye on. There are some websites that gives you a real-time idea of what the cost of gas is on Ethereum. So you can choose to do your transaction, especially if you're doing several transactions, at a time when the fees are lower. Because there are sometimes when the network is congested, the fees go up really, really a lot. Okay, so if you use something like, there are several of these things, but kind of like, I think the one is Gas Now. Or you can check the price of gas or gas for transactions, and there are also estimation of when the quieter times are on the network, so you can time your transaction for those times. Okay, we got a couple of minutes left. As usual, if you want to have a chat with me by Zoom at the end of this, then contact me on. I can give you my email address. Send me an email and we can set up a call. Otherwise, I will say goodbye for now and see you again next week. So any last minute, you've got like 60 seconds for a last minute question if you have a burning question that you haven't asked. Anybody? No? Okay then, thank you very much, and I will see you again next week. I will post, if you want to watch this again, if you miss something, I will post it in the GeniusU group, so you can get the link in the library section. Okay, so goodbye everyone. I'll see you next week.